Keep careful watch of my brother's souls, and should the sky... And should the sky be filled with fire and smoke, keep watching over Durin suns. So for today's movie commentary, we are back with the Hobbit trilogy. We are now on Desolation of Smaug, a film that I think is a bit of a mixed bag, because there's a lot of good things in this film, but there's also a lot of things in this film where I'm like, why are we doing this? This is such a waste of time. What is the point of this? Like Jackson, you don't have to make a 2.5 hour movie every time. You can just make it, 2 hours, less than 2 hours. It also doesn't help that a bunch of this film too is let down by the Battle of the Five Armies. But even still, there are things in here where I'm like, this isn't great. But then also, there are so many scenes in this where it's just like, oh my god, this is incredible. I mean, it's Smaug. I'm talking about Smaug. Everything to do with Bilbo and Smaug. That's the thing with this trilogy, is that when they actually adapt the book, they do it wonderfully. But anyways, I'll save the rant for the rest of the commentary. But before we get into the commentary, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, all the good stuff. It's all down in the description. And also don't forget to follow me on Instagram. It's also down in the description. So without further ado, let's get into The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. Yeah, every time they play the Hobbit theme, I love it. I still get sucked in straight into the Middle-earth world. It's fantastic. It's like how when you watch the Lord of the Rings trilogy and they do the Lord of the Rings thing and the music plays the It's amazing. And I love that this trilogy has a similar sort of thing, but with the Hobbit theme, the concerning Hobbit theme. It's fantastic. I love it.
I should introduce myself. My name is Gandalf the Grey.
I know who you are.
Okay, so this prologue with Thorin and Gandalf, it's not in the book, but it's also a big red flag in terms of this being the end of the trilogy, properly adapting the book, and instead it's going all key jangling, hey, do you remember Lord of the Rings? Look at this nostalgia bake, there's Peter Jackson eating the carrot. Thorin and Gandalf are in Bree and they're in the Prancing Pony, you remember that? You remember Fellowship of the Ring? This is the least offensive example, but even still, it is kind of just yeah, I remember Lord of the Rings, you don't have to remind me.
What brings Thorin Oakenshield to Bree?
Now, do you remember in my commentary for An Unexpected Journey, I said that the digital film look of the Hobbit trilogy looks pretty decent when they're in interiors. And I do think so. I look at the scene in Bree with Thorin in the Prancing Pony. It looks nice, but there is something about it when you compare it to, say, Fellowship of the Ring, which was shot on film. It lacks the grit. It lacks the tangibility. I'm looking at this place and I'm like, there's something off about it. Lighting-wise, it looks nice. And also, I can't complain about shooting on digital because I'm shooting this on a mirrorless camera. But even still, I don't have Hollywood money. If I did, I'd shoot all my films on 35. But I still do my best in post-production to make my videos look like they're on film. I try to do as much film emulation as I possibly can, even adding grain. And I'm looking at the Hobbit films and it's like, the interiors are nice, but there's something here that just feels off.
Which is why we're going to need a burglar.
Way, Bilbo Baggins, Martin Freeman, the MVP of this trilogy. He is so good as Bilbo Baggins, and again, this is the beginning of the end of this trilogy, focusing on Bilbo Baggins. And it sucks because he's so brilliant, and when he does his thing in this film, he's fantastic. But it's Battle of the Five Armies is the worst offender, but this is Bilbo sort of going into the shadows of this trilogy. He's no longer the focus or the forefront, and it's what? Why? It's called The Hobbit. This is his story. It's not Martin Freeman's fault, it's the scripts. The script's just yeah, Bilbo's taking a backseat because now we have to do some Lord of the Rings prequel setup stuff, and it's but why? You don't have to. I don't know why. Azog just annoys me. I don't know what it is. The thing is too, I think it's just the fact that he is Azog the Defiler. It's if you made Azog Bolg, you fixed half of my issues with Azog. I mean, obviously the biggest offender of Azog is the CGI, but it's the fact that also, as a character, why is he here? Just make Azog Bolg and you immediately add stakes to the story because that's what's supposed to happen in the books. Bolg is oh, I'm out for revenge after Thorin Oakenshield. Just have Azog be Bolg, what are you doing, Jackson? Although I do think it is absolutely and just incredibly stupid that Jackson and Howard Shore decided to get rid of the Misty Mountains theme as the main themes for, the quest for the dwarves, I do love the Smaug theme. The score for this film is still pretty good. It lacks the epic moments of Unexpected Journey because they took away the Misty Mountains theme, but there are a lot of additional leitmotifs and themes that Howard Shore incorporates into this film, and it's pretty great. We'll get to them when we get to them. But one of them being the Smaug theme. It's great. I love Smaug's theme. It's awesome.
His name is Beorn.
Okay, so the Beorn stuff in this film is fine. My only issue with it is our introduction to the dwarves to Beorn. In the book, it's this whole quirky, cheeky thing where Gandalf's just like, okay, Beorn doesn't like dwarves, so guys, come in like 2 at a time and slowly introduce yourselves, and eventually we'll all be inside the house and he'll welcome us in. That was such a wonderful and fun little quirky moment in the book, and it's a shame that it's not in the film because it's so like, I don't know, it just adds to the whimsy tone of The Hobbit. I think that's the thing. Whilst I do like a lot of the changes Jackson makes to The Hobbit to make it fit into his vision for Middle-earth, there are also some moments where he gets rid of the whimsiness of the Hobbit book, and it's mainly in this and Battle of the Five Armies where he gets rid of it, and he instead supplements it to be a bit more serious and a bit more grounded. But in doing so, it takes away from the fun and the whimsiness of the Hobbit book. Bolg. What did they do to Bolg? In the sense of design-wise, he looks nothing like Azog. How is this Azog's son? Like, they're not even related. Like, yeah, sure, Bolg is pale, but like, facially, the ears and stuff. No. What? Why is Bolg in this film? Or it should be the other way around. Why is Azog in this film? What were you thinking, Jackson? I don't know what you were thinking here. Okay, so some of the things I do like in terms of The Hobbit setting up the Lord of the Rings trilogy is some of the moments where, you know, Bilbo is looking at the ring, we get the ring theme, and like the scenes kind of like weave together where like this scene will transition into a scene in Dol Guldur. It's cool, it's nice, it's stylish, and it's not super like, hey, remember Lord of the Rings? Like, it is, but it's not like so over the top where you're just like, okay, I know you directed Lord of the Rings, I know this is the Lord of the Rings prequel. Like Bilbo looking at the ring like Frodo did in Lord of the Rings, yeah, that makes sense because we're seeing the addictive nature of the ring. That's fine, it makes sense, it comes from a story and a character point of view. But then there are just some things in this film where you're just like, why? Why are we referencing Lord of the Rings right now? So, in case you didn't know, Benedict Cumberbatch voices Smaug and also the Necromancer. Does it really matter that he voices the Necromancer? Not really. He sounds fine, but like, that's not Sauron's voice from the original trilogy. Not critiquing his performance is perfectly fine, it's just that it didn't have to be Benedict Cumberbatch.
Bolg!
Bolg!
You're not leaving us.
I would not do this unless I had to.
So Gandalf in this film, similar to the books, leads the dwarf party, and I think the film handles it perfectly fine. His Dol Guldur subplot is perfectly fine in this film. It's just hindered by Battle of the Five Armies, because the payoff for the Dol Guldur stuff in Battle of the Five Armies is not very satisfying. But a scene that I do love is this exchange between Bilbo and Gandalf here.
What did you find?
My courage.
Good. Well, that's good. You need it.
You need it. God bless you, Ian McKellen. You are just phenomenal. The film adapts the Mirkwood stuff pretty well as well, though they don't include the thing where Bomber falls into the lake and then like falls asleep and stuff. But, you know, in terms of capturing the overall atmosphere and feeling of being in Mirkwood, you know, the kind of like ominous, poisonous, scary atmosphere of Mirkwood, I think the film does it fairly well. Like the stuff with the spiders, it's all done really well. So far, the film is still pretty good in my eyes. We haven't got to anything majorly offensive where I'm like, why are they doing this? This is so stupid. What the hell? So far, I'm enjoying it. This, similar to the first film, is the book being brought to life, which I'm enjoying. I like the cool detail that when Bilbo puts on the ring, you can hear the spiders actually talking, because in the books, they're just talking spiders.
Sting.
He's brilliant. Martin Freeman's brilliant, and I love the meme where he names Sting Sting. It's so good. It feels so authentic. I think the way the film incorporates it into the script, I think it's pretty natural. Because from what I remember in the book, Bilbo doesn't outwardly name the sword Sting. It's something he just thinks of.
Mine.
Again, the stuff with Bilbo and the ring, seeding Bilbo's obsession with the ring, because that's what the ring does to people, it works perfectly fine in the film. I think it's good.
Do not think I won't kill you, dwarf. It would be my pleasure.
Legolas. Okay, Orlando Bloom's return as Legolas Greenlee, I think that's his last name, His return as Legolas in this trilogy is one I don't hate, if only they did it differently. I mean, in the sense of when the films were coming out and they're like, Orlando Bloom is back as Legolas and stuff, I was like, okay, cool, yeah, seeing Legolas, that's fine. My only issue with Legolas in the Hobbit trilogy is the fact that he is nothing like Legolas in The Lord of the Rings. Now, I know you can argue, yes, he's changed over time and stuff, blah, blah, blah. The difference is, though, is that in The Lord of the Rings, Legolas is very kind of like whimsical airheady in the sense. He talks in a lot of platitudes and says weird things that don't make sense, like they run as if the very whips of their masters were behind them. There is a shadow lingering in the east. He's kind of like stoic and a little bit ominous, you know, like, okay. But he's also a badass. Legolas in The Hobbit is just unnecessarily violent and is kind of an asshole. Which would be fine if there was some sort of character growth and character arc, but he doesn't really have one. He's just here to do cool things like he did in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, except the things he does here aren't very cool. Well, in this film, they're fine. It's the stuff in Battle of the Five Armies with, like, the falling staircase and stuff like. Also, not to point out the obvious, but he does look different to how he does in Lord of the Rings, because obviously he aged, like, 10 years and stuff, but, like, you know, there's something about his look where you're like, he looks a bit off. Okay, Tauriel. I love Tauriel as a character, like, the concept of her. I don't love what she does in the film. Like, just her being a badass female warrior elf is cool. I don't love her role in the trilogy where she's Keely's love interest, but still, I love Tauriel. I love her look. She is stunning. I had a fat crush on Tauriel when I was a teenager. I still do. Oh, Evangeline Lilly. Also, her theme music is awesome. Amazing. It's so good. But then also, this is the start of my least favorite aspect to the Hobbit trilogy, which is the love triangle between Keely and Tauriel. Because just, why? What is the point? We don't need this.
What is this horrid creature, goblin mutant?
That's my wee lad, Gimli.
Haha, funny, because in the future Legolas and Gimli become like best friends and stuff. You remember Lord of the Rings? No, I don't mind that joke, it's fine. But yeah, it is very much a, hey, do you remember Lord of the Rings? And isn't it kind of funny because they become best friends? I'm kind of fond of this line purely for the fact that my friend Darren, he loves to take the mick out of this line because he never says it properly. It's like an inside joke we have. I'm all like, oh, and he's just like, Vendi and Gondolin. I'm like, that's not what he said. Stop doing that. Stop being annoying. Love you, Darren. Okay, so originally the dwarves ending up in Mirkwood is where the original version of The Hobbit: An Unexpected Journey would have ended had it not been turned into a trilogy. If it was just the two films, this is where the first one would have ended. So that's a fun fact, I guess. Again, I'm not in love with the whole Legolas, Tauriel, Keely love triangle. Even, it's not even really a love triangle. It's more the fact of, like, Tauriel likes Legolas and Legolas likes Tauriel. Although it's more one-sided in terms of Legolas likes Tauriel a lot. But then Thranduil's like, oh, Tauriel, you and Legolas can't be together. And then so Tauriel meets Keely, and then Tauriel and Keely fall in love. And to be fair, the Tauriel-Keely stuff, there is some stuff in their romance that is quite nice. Like, I do like the whole dwarf stone thing and then their conversation during the Starlight Festival. That's nice. But at the end of the day, too, why is this a thing? I also just don't like the moments, too, where Legolas gives Keely dagger eyes. Like, no. What is this doing in my Hobbit trilogy? Just, no. Get it out of here.
I have faced the great serpents of the north.
Okay, that's cool. The whole, like, Thranduil revealing his dragon scars with, like, the magic and stuff, that's so cool. I love that. That's awesome. The conflict between Thorin and Thranduil, whilst nicely set up in the first film, it's an unnecessary conflict because it's not really what happens in the book. Like, Thorin doesn't really have beef with the elves. He's kind of just like, oh, you guys didn't help, okay. And then they end up going into Mirkwood and they get captured by the Mirkwood elves. But in the book, they get captured more so because the elves are just like, what are you doing here? Like, what are 13 dwarves just doing in our kingdom? The movie changes it to make it this whole beef between Thorin and Thranduil, but that's not what happens in the book. It's literally just, what are you guys doing here? We're gonna keep you prisoners till you tell us what you're doing.
We're never gonna reach the mountain, are we?
Not stuck in here, you're not.
This is why Bilbo Baggins is a motherfucking legend, yeah! It is genuinely a shame that Bilbo takes a backseat in the rest of the trilogy, like, why? Martin Freeman is so good. Again, brilliant, he's perfect, like, he's so good. I used to be an adventurer like you, till I took an arrow to the knee. Was that an intentional reference? That must have been, right? Like, there's no way you make a Skyrim reference with an arrow to the knee. It had to have been. But also, thank you, Bolg. Thank you for delivering one of my least favourite subplots in the film. The whole, oh, Keely has been shot with a Morgul arrow. Oh, no, he can't go to the mountain. Oh, we gotta heal him. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. If you can't tell, I'm being sarcastic. I don't like it. Ah, that's my girl. That's Tariel. Just, I love her. She's so good. You know, I'm surprised that Warner Brothers didn't capitalize on the whole barrel riding sequence and turn this into a theme park ride, because it'd be so cool. How has this not been done yet? It would be so awesome. Also, yeah, the barrel ride just goes on for ages and ages in this. Like, it's so long. And one of my least favorite things about the cinematography for this scene is the weird GoPro footage where, like, all of a sudden the barrel goes into the water and then, like, out emerges, like, this GoPro footage, and it looks awful. It doesn't match the cinema footage. I don't know why they did it. I don't know what Jackson was thinking here.
Do it again, and you're dead.
Now, I like Luke Evans as Bard the Bowman. I think he does the character well. My issue with Bard is his characterization, because once again, similar to Thorin, they have Aragornified Bard for no real reason. I guess maybe they're just playing up more of his royalty, because in the books he is royalty, he is the real heir to Dale, but even still, it's kind of like the film goes a bit too far. Also, if I'm not mistaken, did Bard just shoot Dwalin with a black arrow? Because if that's the case, then what the hell was up with Battle of the Five Armies and the whole only a black arrow can, like, be shot from a wind lance? Like, why? That was one of the most dumbest, unnecessary things in Battle of the Five Armies, and this film introduces it. And I have no idea why. It's so stupid. Especially considering how in Battle of the Five Armies they don't even use the wind lance. Like, Bard does this weird dumb thing with his, like, bow, and then he uses his son as a wind lance. It's stupid. I don't know what the point of that was. Just have it be a regular black arrow like it was in the book. I love the Leighton leitmotif, and also Howard's short score for this film is really good. I love all the new themes he introduces and such. The only thing I don't like is how he takes away the Misty Mountains theme as, like, the main theme for the trilogy, because why did he get rid of that? I don't understand why. It's so good. I don't know why he got rid of it. Like, it was so perfect, and they took it from us.
Not so fast.
Oh God, Alfred. What is the point of this character, really? He's not even funny. He's not good comedic relief. What is the point of this character? No, seriously, like, what is the point? Is he just meant to be an even more bumbling fool than the Master? Because the Master of Lake Town, played wonderfully by Stephen Fry, is fantastic. But also, I will never say anything bad against Stephen Fry. Stephen Fry, I love Stephen Fry. He read me the Harry Potter audiobooks every night. He's amazing. Like, I'm never going to say a bad word against Stephen Fry. But even still, the Alfred character, there is no purpose for him, because we already have a bumbling fool in the Master of Lake Town. And I'm not saying that the actor for Alfred did a terrible job. No, they did a perfectly fine job with the stuff that they were given, but it's just, I don't understand the purpose of the Alfred character. Stupid Windlance backstory. Again, the Windlance stuff, I don't know what the point of it is. It's just unnecessary padding. Like, there was no ancient secret Windlance thing that could kill dragons and stuff. It's unnecessary. It sets up a weird conflict between Thorin and Bard, because it's like, oh, my ancestor was the one that failed to kill Smaug, and Thorin's like, oh, it was you, your ancestor failed to kill Smaug. Like, that's just unnecessary, silly conflict.
Send wealth and riches flowing once more from the halls of Erebor!
Yeah, that's Thorin Oakenshield. That's my king under the mountain.
Death! That is what you will bring upon us.
So, this is a conflict between Bard and Thorin. I do not mind, because I feel like the film needs to point out, if you go into the mountain and you wake up the dragon, you might kill us all. I think Bard being that character that is going against Thorin is perfectly fine. I think that's a good conflict. I don't need the whole Windlance backstory, because just, why?
What if it's a trap?
It's undoubtedly a trap.
It's undoubtedly a trap. Shing! Yeah, that's Gandalf the Grey right there. That's Gandalf, my G. Okay, here's something. Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White? I know this is kind of a redundant question because they're the same character, but there's an aura around Gandalf the Grey that I just prefer over Gandalf the White. Like, they're both cool, they're both badass, but, like, Gandalf the Grey is just cooler. But, like, visually, Dol Guldur is quite eerie, quite creepy. I like the look of it. I like a lot of the cinematography here. CGI is not amazing when the CGI is implemented, but, you know, pretty atmospheric.
Come back! It's the light of the moon, the last moon of autumn!
Now, I may be misremembering, but in the book, the last light of Durin Day and then finding the keyhole, that's not as, like, tense as the film makes it out to be. It's not like a very time-sensitive mission of like, we have to do it only at this time because if we don't, we'll never be able to open the door ever again. I think that's an exaggeration on the film's behalf, right? But even still, if that is the case, that's a change I actually prefer and I do quite like because it does add stakes and tension to the story. It also makes the moment too where Thorin catches the key and they finally open the door and they enter Erebor much more impactful. It's like, yes, they finally did it. They're in the mountain now.
And I think I must try.
It never ceases to amaze me.
What's that?
The courage of hobbits.
I love Balin and Bilbo's friendship. It's so sweet. It's so wholesome. I love it. And I love too that Balin is one of the additional characters that further adds to the idea of anyone can achieve anything, no matter how big or how small, just so long as you have the courage and the heart to do it. Mwah. It's so Tolkienian. I love it. And the implementation of the Hobbit theme too, mwah. Fantastic moment. Okay, so in this film, Gandalf's staff breaks, but then I swear in Battle of the Five Armies he has it back again. If that's the case, then how did he get it back? Okay, I'm gonna say this now before we get into the scene, but this entire sequence with Bilbo and Smaug is fucking perfection. Similar to the Good Morning scene from An Unexpected Journey, this sequence, is that scene from the book, brought to life, and it's phenomenal. Brilliant, honestly. Martin Freeman's comedic timing, the idea of the joke, fantastic. I love that. I remember the first time I saw this film in the cinema, this sequence also terrified me. Smaug's scale, his presence, Cumberbatch's voice, the overall way the scene is shot and scored, Smaug was terrifying to me. I remember shaking in the cinema. He was that terrifying. I love this. I love all of this stuff with Smaug and Bilbo.
Where are you? Where are you?
Where are you? Terrifying. I love it. Okay, one thing that does confuse me about this scene though is how Smaug for some reason has like this weird like detection for the ring, and like I don't know how he has that. That's not in the book. What? Huh? Was this just a case of Martin Freeman's screen time? Because if that's the case, I don't know why he has to like actually be present in the room, because in the book Bilbo is invisible. But also there is the visual effect of Bilbo wearing the ring. I don't know why like all of a sudden Bilbo had to take off the ring. Maybe because it makes it more personal or something? I don't know. That's just an annoying but nitpick though.
Do you now?
Terrifying. He's so scary. Martin Freeman's performance in the scene too, phenomenal. Benedict Cumberbatch's performance as Smaug, incredible. I cannot sing the praises of this sequence enough. It's just the book brought to life, and the actors just really sell the scene, and it's wonderful. But I mean, all this praise aside, this third act is kind of messy. Like, Bard like running to get the black arrow so he can put it in the wind lance only for him to get captured by the guards of Lake Town. And then there's the stuff with Keely and the Morgul arrow that's like poisoning him, and then Tauriel has to heal him. And then there is that obnoxiously long action sequence with the dwarves in Erebor with Smaug, and it's so pointless because it's like they don't even beat him, but also it looks awful, but also the physics is just so wonky, but also it's just, what is the point? Smaug is literally gonna die. Why not kill Smaug at the end of this film? Ah, Tauriel. Oh, Evangeline Lilly. Ah.
This is to end in fire. Then we will all burn together.
Raise a glass of wine into the night. So that's where Ed Sheeran got the line from. Okay, also for some reason Legolas and Bolg now have a beef, and like that's how Bolg ends up dying in the next film, like because of Legolas, and it's, huh? Hey, he made me bleed my own blood. Okay, not only as a visual effect does this look terrible, but also, what in the physics? How? That does... Huh? Honestly, this is the point where I start to wonder what Peter Jackson was actually thinking. Like, what? This film could easily be 2 hours long, and you don't need any of this weird extended action, because the extended action is just so it's not good. Why not just have Bilbo and Smaug have the conversation and such, and then it all escalates and builds to Smaug going to attack Lake Town? Why do we need this stuff with the dwarves and Erebor fighting Smaug, and then Smaug is just like, the gold statue, It doesn't look good, it's unnecessary, it pads the runtime. Just have this film be 2 hours long. I don't know why we need an extra, like, 45 minutes. Okay, one thing I will say, though, is that the image of, like, a gold-covered Smaug, and then he shakes it all off to go back to his normal colour, is a really cool image, but just because it's a cool image doesn't mean it makes any sense, because what in the physics? I am Batman! That line's always reminded me of I am vengeance, I am the night, I am Batman!
What have we done?
I will say that is a very effective ending. Although I complain about this film being way too long, if you are also going to move Smaug's death into the beginning of the third film, it makes sense to end the film here. It's a very good dramatic beat. It is a good dramatic moment. Oh, misty eye of the mountain below. So, that was The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. A film that I think is a bit of a mixed bag. There are things in it that I do love. Again, you've just seen me gush all over Smaug and Bilbo and everything to do with that stuff. I've pointed out a lot of the good things, but yes, this is the beginning of the end of the Hobbit trilogy being solid. This is where the trilogy begins to fall apart, because this is where you start to see them padding out the runtime with unnecessary action, unnecessary filler. You can tell they were only meant to be 2 Hobbit films because the cracks really start to show in this one. From an artistic point of view, I'm just baffled as to how they tried to turn the Hobbit into this big epic trilogy when it's not. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to be a children's story. And, like, whilst I do admire Jackson's attempt at certain elements by expanding the lore and trying to make it fit into the Lord of the Rings, it just... there are so many things that he does where I go, what are you doing? Why? This doesn't need to be here. What are we doing, Jackson? Stop! But those are my thoughts on The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. It's not super in-depth. I don't love this film, though I did see this film a fair few times in my teenage years. Join me soon for, unfortunately, The Hobbit, The Battle of the Five Armies, a film I'm not really looking forward to watching because I just don't like it all that much. There are some good things here and there, but overall that film is just so bloated and so padded, and there's so many things that I just don't like and just... I'm not looking forward to it. But those are my thoughts on The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug. What do you guys think about it? Do you think it's the best film in the trilogy? I don't think it is. There's a lot of good things in it. The Cumberbatch stuff is awesome. The Smaug stuff, great. But there's just so much of it where I'm like, why? What is the point? But let me know what you guys think of the film in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media, all the good stuff. Until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.